Alright guys, so we are back, and if you can tell from underneath me and behind me, we are working on that car again. So if you guys, also Benny Boy's here, so he's going to be helping me with this. Actually, judging by the title of the video, I'm sure you probably already know what's going on. When we did the diff swap, which you probably saw last video, I'm guessing you might have heard this tail shaft clunking like a motherfucker. So you might remember Ben and I, well, Ben did a repack on this Center CV. So since then, I drove that for a week. Today is the 24th, the day before Christmas, and we're gonna do another, hopefully not another full slog, but we've got these new parts. So big thanks to Ben for sourcing these. These are, what are they, genuine quality? Is this what's actually in the factory?
Hardy Spicer brand, so really high quality. What goes into the OEM builds.
Yeah, so what did your supplier say about the aftermarket ones?
He said these particular joints, you can get some really cheap ones, but they're nowhere near as good as, or of the right quality to use in high performance cars. And something to do with the material and also the surface hardening. So if you have a look here, this line that you see there is the induction hardening when they harden the surface of the raceway where the balls go through there. So that's hardened material from there all the way up to about there, and it sort of tapers off. But yeah, having the right quality steel and the right heat treatment and finishes and tolerances and all that go a really long way to a nice lasting joint. So we're hoping this is the last time we have to do it on this car.
First and last. Well, second for that one, but
yeah.
Alright, so I guess we'll give you guys the part numbers because we highly recommend if you're doing this. Hopefully you have the confidence after watching this video. Alright, so this is the uni joint, so front and rear, and you were just saying before you can only use them for...
Yeah, so they're pretty much only for the tail shafts from VN up to VT Series 1 before they changed over to the flexible rubber coupling. And it probably suits like VL and VK and VB and so on as well.
Yep.
But check the application listing from Hardy Spicer before you order them.
Yep, so you need two of them if you're doing your front and your rear, obviously. Then we've got here, what's that, the center bearing. So there's the part number for that. And then the center CV. So if you're doing this, especially for a performance car, definitely spend the extra dollars and get those. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do is obviously take the tail shaft out. I'll point something out to you now quickly. It's probably, anyone who's actually done this several times will probably notice that the lock nuts, the factory cone lock nuts, that's the style of lock nut they are. They become very loose after a certain amount of undo and redos. That sounds very untechnical, but I've managed to source a new set that works perfectly. So what was it, the M10 ones from before were Japanese spec, so they were smaller, a smaller bolt head.
JIS standard with a metric fine thread.
Yeah, this is having a shit time, folks.
That's why we couldn't use these cone locks on the old bolts.
Yeah, so you can see here I've actually got some new bolts. These are Australian standards. So 17mm head, 16mm head and a 17mm nut, I'm pretty sure. Those are a cone lock. I got them from Blackwoods. So these cone locks, I think I got like a pack of 200 for like 15 bucks or something. So I've got a shitload for many times. I'm taking these off. I'll actually put the part numbers on the screen for you guys because they're really dirt cheap. Instead of buying them off eBay singly for probably the same price I paid for like 200. Yeah. So the only thing I had to do was change from 1.25 fine thread to 1.5 with this M10, but that's easy. Anyway, moving on, we'll take those off. We'll undo the center bearing support, and then we'll pull this out from the box. If you're not doing this on a level hoist, you'll want to probably drain your fluid first because it'll probably leak out. Alright guys, this is my beautiful shaft. All 1.8 meters of it. What do you reckon? 1.8?
Hey, you got the eye.
Alright, so do you want to show us where most of the free play is, Ben?
Well, let's start at the tip.
Alright, so stroking the tip.
So just grab both
This
ends.
is the gearbox side for those of you who don't know.
So this is, there's the spline that goes into the output shaft of the gearbox. So if we just grab this and very carefully do this sort of twisting motion on the shaft, you can see if there's any play. There's a tiny bit there, but nothing too major. And the joint is smooth and free through the rotation. So inside here, under this housing is the center bearing with a rubber support damper.
Which is torn.
Which is torn from too much horsies. And there are some tight spots on there, so as it gets to here it's sort of tight. The main reason we're replacing this one though is because of the torn rubber on this side. You come around here.
Get the light.
So I do this. You can see how torn the rubber is in there.
You can definitely see that.
The Loctite super glue and she'll be right. Or I could just replace it. So that's the center bearing, and then you have the constant velocity joint, or the CV joint, towards the rear of the center bearing, and this is the one that we repacked early one morning. You can see how much play there is in there.
Yeah, which when we did pull it apart there was a lot of pitting and metal debris and...
Yeah, and wear on the raceway. So this is pretty smooth actually. Calm down. But there's a lot of play, I suppose, in that torsional sort of direction, so in the twisting direction of the gearbox. And the trouble is, when you go from driving one direction to the other direction, so like say driving to coasting to engine braking, you get that shunting in the drivetrain.
Yeah. So for the last week I've basically had to stay on power or hard decel.
Driving like a race boy.
That's it.
So that's the main culprit, and then this is the differential end. So this is the diff end. The diff flange comes up here, and you can see there's quite visible play in there. So this is a lot worse than the front one, and part of that is probably due to the tail shaft angle. So from here to the gearbox output, there's not a lot of movement. It's sort of set, and the angle is not that bad. But being live axle, what happens is it's supported on the chassis at your center bearing, and this is rotating and twisting as it's going up and down as well with rear suspension travel. So you're putting the joint through a lot more motion, and it wears through its rotation quite a lot. So the more misalignment you have on the tail shaft, the more these joints have to go through a motion as they go around. They wear themselves out.
Alright, so Ben is going to show us how to swap these out and have a nice another 300,000 Ks of
boosted joy.
Yeah, with no sloppiness.
No one likes a sloppy shaft.
Alright, so we've got it in the vise, as you can see. The first thing you want to do is set up an indexing mark basically through the whole shaft. There are instructions how to how to get it back to how it was from factory in the book, or is it?
Yeah, that's drive shaft phasing. So the position of this yoke relative to the back yoke is in the service manual. But the other thing we want to check is that also the shaft goes, we have the best chance of putting it back together with the right balance on the shaft. So when you rebuild the shaft and you do all this sort of major work, they always recommend you balance the shaft as well. So what we're going to do is mark everything, rebuild it, assemble it back how it was, and see if it runs smooth. If we have any issues, then we'll send out for balancing.
Yeah. And you know what? The reason why there's shit coming out of there is because it's torn.
It's torn.
Big time.
Your little rubber hattie on your shaft is torn. That always leads to issues.
It does. Leads to babies. I mean leaking oil.
So here's a top tip when you do these. Make sure the bottom of the cap screw is really clean, and you have good quality Allen keys that are seated all the way, because it's going to be a world of pain if you end up stripping those.
Oh yeah.
So we'll just go around and slack them off.
Luckily these were only undone a week ago.
Yes.
To the day.
To the day.
And another thing guys, when you're clamping it in the vise, do not do it over tight because you will deform your tube and have all kinds of balance and vibration issues.
Okay, so the next step is to clean up all the gunk and muck around this area here. So there is a little rubber seal and a circlip type thing. So we've got to clean all that out, remove the circlips on all 4 ends of the uni, and then we'll tap out the bearing caps.
So just for added safety, as well as the paint, we're just going to center punch some indexing marks so this goes back together, same spot. It's always good to do.
Okay, so we have got one of the circlips partially out. So once you clean around the joint, all the crud is free, and then if the circlip has been in there a long time, it might take a little bit just to free it up, so work at it from both ends. Hopefully when they fit it, they were sensible and put the split line in a decent spot. So well, you just give it a bit of a wiggle, get it freed up, and then you should be able to get it up and over. And then you can see here it's just sticking a little bit, so we'll just prise it out. Of course,
right in the face, isn't it?
Wear safety goggles when you're working with spring steels, and that's what the circlip looks like. Yeah. You can see the end of it's there. So. Once just pushed it around.
Bit of lube goes a long way, Ben.
Just a bit of penetrant.
Alright guys, so we've already done one, as you can see. We'll give you a close-up on what's inside the caps and how it all works once we get this next one off. But we've done the practice run, so you know we'll probably fuck this one up and make us look like idiots.
Yeah. That's worth a shot.
So you need a socket that'll pretty much clear that diameter of the cap.
And you can check it off your new one.
Yep. And then just a socket that's the smaller diameter, or smaller than the outside diameter of this other cap. So the idea is we're going to, hopefully, there's the first fuck up. So we want to just put a bit of pressure on this cap and push the other one out the bottom.
Well, we got that part out. Once you have a bit started, it will help to hold the socket. Once you go too, if you like it, and then pull through up the. Okay. Ready for the grand unveiling. So you can see that there's supposed to be a seal there, but there's just rubber debris.
Alright guys, so we're back on the table. The uni is out as you saw before. So we're going to do a quick inspection of the caps. They're already fucked. So what, we found a lot of contaminated grease and grit and lack of seal.
Yeah, so there should be a rubber seal that sits on this lip here. Just like the new ones there, you can see there's a rubber seal. That's
quite a substantial seal size actually.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot to go missing.
So that, I expect that's probably just degraded over time, or you dissolved it when you cleaned it.
No, that wouldn't happen.
Anyway, it's
cleaning it with sulfuric acid's alright, isn't it?
Yeah, battery acid. Okay, so that's not there. That's one of the reasons the grease breaks down and the bearings wear out. So we're just going to have a look at the outer race. A little bit of that fretting corrosion, which is those marks there. Not too shabby for the amount of service they've done. I'm going to clean out the inside.
Finger that hole, Benny.
So here's one we just picked, and what you can see, I hope you can focus on this rather small hole. So the grayness there is the running track, and it looks like it's been running with pretty bad lube. Those lines there at rolling element pitch. Bit hard to tell. Yep, they're definitely there. So that's Brunel marks from being stationary with no lube and the roller sort of rubbing in there. So yes, it's moderately damaged. It would have still kept turning, but definitely wouldn't have been smooth. So if you're really stuck, you could sort of pack some more grease in there, clean it all up and put it back, but definitely wouldn't in this case.
Hence why we got these.
I have the new ones. Have a quick look at the rollers. There it rolls in. Rinse them down. They look okay, not too bad. You can see some of the old clutchy grease in there. And here's the tripod. So this looks in terrible condition. That journal there is okay. It's a little marked up, but not too bad. This one here, you can see where the seal used to run.
Yeah, back when it used to live there.
Over there. You might be able to hear it's a little grooved up, so that's again that false Brunelling. You can see it clearer there, where the rollers sit like that and rub into the shaft. Next one up, again you can see where the seal runs. This is pretty corrugated now and it's
I can
rusty.
see that from here.
So that there is false Brunelling there, and that's a really deep corrosion pit. So something's that's more than just water. It's something quite bad. That's like acidic or something that's eaten away in there. Lucky last. Same sort of deal. This one's really bad. So that groove is really quite substantial, and that'll be the source of the free play there when the roller sits in this groove. So you can stick one of these back over that really worn one.
Yeah, you can hear all the ripples.
Yep. There we are. One universal strip.
Ben, let's stop dwelling on the past. Fuck them off, and let's
look to the future, like lunch.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of got to put the fucking wheels back on your car.
Oh. Better get stuck.
Another story. You'll see that on Ben's channel if you watch it.
Better get stuck back into that then.
Yep. Alright my friends, it's onto the CV joint. So this is a week old grease. This is the PDFE Newlon
L80 Extreme Performance.
So it's funny how much it discolors, isn't it?
A couple of things to note. One is how much the grease has been expelled from this area. Like, we packed it all full, and that's normal, that's to be expected. Two is you can see some, even though we cleaned out really well, you can see some mixing and aging of the grease here. So it's got a darker colour to it. There is bits of metal and stuff in there as well, and that's the grease that we initially put in. You can also see that grease hasn't held up well to the temperature. You can see how it's gone stiffer and started cracking and pulling back. You can see there. So that's one of the challenges with grease, is that it needs to handle the temperature that it's operating in.
And especially doesn't help because this is quite close to the exhaust too.
Yeah, pretty close to the exhaust. So any greases that are mineral based stock will start to oxidize quite rapidly over 80 degrees Celsius. You can also see here how the grease has started to harden up on the outside, from that's close to the outside, because it doesn't have as much material to suck away the heat. And you see here, so see the grease has gone quite stiff. It's formed a shape that's pushed out of the joint. If you have a look from the top down, just up here. And you can also see what colour it was originally there, that light red, and now it's that darkened colour. So that's a section of the grease, and its stiffness has increased quite a bit since we put it in. So I mean, PDFE is used in some industries like moly. It's doesn't react like moly. That's one of the advantages, but this particular blend doesn't seem that suitable for the high temps. I mean, it's not too bad, but
Yeah.
bear in mind that's only a week old.
So in a nutshell, guys, grease is not just grease. You've got to get the right stuff for the job. So we'll be showing you what we're using for this. There's a few things we can use. I'll list them in the video, what Ben recommends. I guess show everyone the play in the splines as well.
So remember the play in the joint that we will demonstrate on the video. Once we stripped it down, you can see that actually some of that comes from the splines. So if you look here at this part, which is part of the joint relative to the circlip there, you'll see some relative motion. So there certainly is some play in the balls, you can see that here. But there is also play from the spline to the shaft, so hopefully the wear is on the CV joint side because we have a new component
Alright
there.
guys, so you need some circlip pliers. You can do it with some other tools
and things. Remember the safety tips, wear safety goggles, and sometimes they can spring around the room, so when you pull them off, try not to twist them too much if you plan on reusing them because they'll get all munted.
Or a technical term.
That's a technical term, it's in the technical book of acronyms. MPOS, munted, etc, etc, etc. So remind me to show you how to check that that's tight. So if you reuse these quite a lot and you overstretch them when you pull them out, they get weak, and you really should replace them or they can pop off.
So for those of you who are doing this to a factory shaft, or pretty much any shaft, you probably have a little metal retaining clip here, but that was a piece of shit, so we just put a zip tie on, because zip ties outweigh everything.
They do. It was only temporary to get us going again, but one thing to remember, it does run quite close to the exhaust and the zip tie will fatigue and break. This is only a week old, it was brand new, you can see how stiff and hard it is. So you want to use a metal band. Those CD style boots are good without the big lumpy worm drive thing.
Yep.
So,
did the new one come with a?
I think so.
Oh, cool.
And there we are. So, well, that's a bit hard to look. So let's have a look at the spline on the shaft first up. It does look to be hardened.
Good. It doesn't look deformed to my naked, untrained eye, but
that's yeah, that's if it was twisted. But it is worn a bit. So what we'll do is I'll extract my thumb from this hole. We'll clean this up so we don't dirty the new joint and just test fit the new part over this. It fits lovely. Yep.
Oh man, thank God.
So that fits really, really well. Nice and clean. Tight, firm fit, and we can't get any play out of the whole system. So whether it's the balls to the race or the spline to the axle.
So it's basically just a compound of slack in the balls, in the splines, and just life in general.
And the uni at the other end.
Yeah,
so
that one too.
When we reassemble this, we'll put some anti-seize on the splines, or a moly-based lubricant which has the solid particles in there to help prevent any rapid wear from this spline interface.
Alright, so moving down the shaft, that sounds a bit sus, doesn't it? Anyway, we're to the rubber section. It's not getting any better. Here, you take over.
Right, so we'll get this shaft ring off, and it just sits on this steel rubber bonded ring here. So we've laid it all out in the order it's come off, and this is that rubber that's totally torn. You can see on the top here and inside there just
Hopefully
how bad it is.
Well, I think we've got a good photo before
If you
anyway.
come up and have a look on the top here, it's even torn through this section here, so you flex that. It's just aged.
Oh, yeah.
There also appears to be a tight spot in this bearing, which is a bit strange, but we'll get closer into that. So we don't really care too much about these metal shields, so I'll just try and knock them off. So we just walk the ring off. There's the ring, put that down the end there. Have a look at the bearing with a circlip.
Well, it's red. It must be a fast one. Do you want that bigger hammer?
Yeah, I think
Bigger hammer always fix it, mate.
the biggest.
We all know that. Oh, you already got one. Whose is bigger though?
Oh,
Questionable.
same team.
Alright.
Send it out.
Suit yourself. I know. Put in the press.
Yeah.
Press the shaft.
Yeah. Might tear the rubber, but we don't really care. Let's get it pressed off.
Alright. Pressed off, bro.
So we've cut through one side. And I've cut it on an angle to avoid nicking the actual drive shaft. And that's mostly through. Things got munted pretty quickly, didn't they?